Let's dive into the tricky world of making a second or third marriage thrive, especially when you're blending families and learning from past mistakes.
Absolutely. It's like entering a new chapter after a rougher first one, right?
Exactly, and it's interesting because after a divorce, people often become more aware of what they truly need in a partner, someone with different values and even a different sense of
Yeah.
humor.
And when you're blending families, with step parents and stepchildren, the daily challenges can really become a handful.
Right, it's like trying to conduct an orchestra where every instrument has its own tempo. You've got children who aren't biologically your own, and that mix can lead to a whole lot of tension if you're not careful.
Speaking of challenges, did you notice the point about how it takes up to 4 years for a couple to reach equilibrium after marrying a second time?
Yes, that really stood out. The idea is that patience is key. It's a slow build. And when you compare it to a first marriage, there's this extra layer of complexity because of the previous baggage and new family dynamics.
Right. I suppose that means you have to give, plenty of time, not only to each other, but to the whole family structure. How does that usually work in practice?
Often, couples set aside time for rituals, like weekly date nights or even daily small moments to reconnect. It's all about making the marriage a priority despite the chaos of daily life.
True. And on top of that, there's the topic of finances. It seems that money matters really become a whole different ballgame when past experiences are involved.
Absolutely. Financial stress can ignite conflicts, especially when, issues like child support or alimony come into play. Couples are advised to have regular money talks that are honest and frequent.
Right on. But I wonder, isn't that a bit too prescriptive? I mean, not everyone is comfortable dissecting everything through scheduled discussions.
That's a fair challenge. However, it's really about preventing conflicts from snowballing. When you discuss finances openly, you build transparency. It's like setting aside time to check the engine on your car so you don't end up stranded on the side of the highway.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good analogy. Now, what about the techniques for handling conflict? I saw a lot on using repair attempts in the conversation.
Right, and that's a cornerstone of Gottman's research. Repair attempts, whether it's a playful comment, a soft touch, or simply acknowledging the issue, are key to de-escalating conflict.
It's almost like having an emotional first aid kit, isn't it? Patching up wounds before they turn into something bigger.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just patching things up. It's about showing that you're really listening and that your partner's feelings are valid. Mind you, sometimes it requires vulnerability, which isn't always easy after a painful divorce.
Yeah. On that note, the advice to avoid you statements and instead express your own feelings genuinely seems crucial. Isn't that so?
Yes, a lot of the tips encourage a soft startup. You initiate conversations gently by saying, for example, I'm feeling worried about our finances, instead of, you never listen. It's so vital to avoid blame and to foster a space for real connection.
Right, I agree. I find it interesting that many remarried couples come in with not just emotional baggage, but also preconceived notions of how things should be. How do you think realistic expectations fit in here?
They absolutely need to be recalibrated. Setting realistic expectations is about acknowledging that a second or third marriage won't be perfect immediately. It requires work, humor, a lot of patience, and often professional guidance.
Makes sense. There's also a focus on spending quality time together. Some suggestions include trying new activities together, like pickleball or ballroom dancing. How critical do you think those efforts are?
They're really important because shared experiences can create lasting bonds. When couples engage in fun, shared activities, it not only, builds memorable moments, but also reaffirms their commitment.
Yes, I like that idea. It's sort of like mixing up the routine to keep things fresh rather than falling into a repetitive cycle of conflict and resolution.
Exactly, and even if it's just a simple walk in the park or a quiet dinner without the kids, having that time alone can really rebuild intimacy.
Yeah. With so many suggestions on practical steps, like scheduling alone time and establishing rituals, do you feel that these strategies are universally applicable, or might some couples, say, have different needs?
I get that concern, and while the guidelines stem from Gottman's research, it's important to tailor them to your unique situation. Not every couple will have the same needs, but the underlying principles of transparency, active listening, and regular connection remain vital.
True. You mentioned active listening, which seems like a small thing, yet it's apparently a massive predictor of marital happiness. Why do you think that is?
Active listening is essential because it's, like an emotional handshake. It shows care, acknowledges the other person's perspective, and encourages deeper dialogue. When you respond with eye contact or affirmations like, "I'm interested in what you have to say," it fosters a feeling of being valued.
Yeah, I see that. And then there's the whole aspect of repairing after a conflict. Beyond just saying sorry, what does effective repair look like?
Good repair attempts engage both partners in recognizing the hurt and then using small, thoughtful gestures to soothe that pain, maybe through humor, a quick cuddle, or a hand squeeze. Essentially, it's about turning a negative
Agreed.
into an
Interesting
opportunity
approach.
for connection.
Sometimes I wonder, for a remarried couple with deep-seated issues, can these repair attempts really overcome the past? Isn't there a chance that old hurts could resurface?
That's a valid concern. It definitely isn't a cure-all, but research indicates that couples who practice consistent repair attempts can build a resilience that helps them manage recurring conflicts. It's not about erasing the past, but about learning to navigate it together.
That's insightful. What's also interesting is the idea that the second marriage may be strengthened precisely because both people come in with a clearer picture of what they want. It's almost like you, carry your life's blueprint this time around.
Absolutely, you've got wisdom gained from earlier mistakes. With that clarity, couples can proactively set ground rules for heated topics, like finances, chores, and even time management. It's both a learning process and a reinvention.
Right, yeah. Yet, there's a risk that all this strategy might come off as too clinical. How do you think couples can balance the research-based approaches with genuine emotional connection?
Well, it's a balancing act, no doubt. While the tactics are research-backed, they're intended to be tools, not rigid rules. Incorporating humor, vulnerability, and real-life spontaneity ensures that the relationship doesn't feel scripted, but remains warm and personal.
I agree. I must add that it's refreshing how these ideas emphasize listening and the everyday moments. After all, it's those small interactions that often matter the most.
Exactly. At the end of the day, making a second or third marriage work really relies on mutual determination, respect, and a willingness to adapt. It's about moving forward with patience and a good dose of humor.
Yes, absolutely. So, whether it's scheduling regular money talks, actively listening, or making time for fun rituals, it really all builds up to a stronger, more resilient relationship.
Right, and ultimately, it's about creating a partnership that can gracefully navigate life's ups and downs together. It might take time, sometimes years, but the potential for that richer, deeper connection is definitely worth the effort.
No doubt. It's been such an insightful conversation, reminding us that even if the blueprint changes, the fundamentals of respect and communication always remain.
Exactly, and remember, every marriage is unique. Embracing your past, understanding its lessons, and applying repair skills can transform challenges into growth opportunities.
Right, indeed. Thanks for breaking this down in such a relatable way. It really gives hope to anyone venturing into a remarriage.
Absolutely. No matter how many times life throws you a curve, there's always a way to reinvent love and connection.